So Stuart and I have known each other for almost 40 years. And yeah, isn't that a fucking frightening word? So we've known each other all this time, and you know, we both know lots of poets. I can't think of one who writes less like me than Stuart. And he probably feels close to the same way. But we've collaborated over the years, and it's hilarious. We've done different styles. Like we started off, he'd write a word, I'd write a word, build a poem. And then he'd do 2 words, I do 2 words, build a poem. He did 3 words, I did 3 words. Did all sorts of things. With these, we each started off with 10 pieces of paper, wrote first line on the 10 pages, and then traded them. And then just went back and forth, just handed them back and forth until one of us thought they were done, and then we just put it away. Wouldn't look at what it was or show it to the other person until we had no pages left. And we've done that over a couple of years. We've got about 100.
Got 100. 20 more to go.
So here's some of them. Jerry and the Pacemakers. Jerry and the Pacemakers all had broken hearts. Dick Cheney snapped the neck of bluebirds, no happiness here. William Makepeace Thackeray caressed Lulu while she sang a solo about Sir. I moved the lawn and raked the leaves, hoped for a truce. When thunder drowns out memory, it all becomes a guess. Mars is the funniest planet, save Pluto, then Venus, Saturn, and Mercury, Uranus.
Good start. An ashtray was teeming. An ashtray was teeming with the leftovers of a marriage performed by a Claude François impersonator, danced the butts into discordant harmony. The wedding album fluttered across the south of France and headed towards Italy. The uninvited stuffed their mouths with confetti, and all the presents headed home, their ribbons wilting like the sound of a gramophone needing a wind. Next year, a letter arrived. All our names were spelled wrong, again. We learned to smoke faster. Our marriages came and went, faster than Claude François' dance steps. The world was changing. But a good impression is still the thing.
The cat. The cat was either sleeping or dead. We watched to see it breathe. It breathed. You grabbed my hair. I breathed harder, opened my eyes wide. You looked like you forgot and were mad about it. I told you I was a cat, and I never got that at all. My scalp burned. Your nose said, I don't smell a thing. I said, what's a phone booth? Wrong number. I hung up.
Okay, let's see what I have here. We thought he was waving. We thought he was waving, but he was going under. We buried him under the bookstore and then burned it to the ground. Book burning was a fine tradition. Throwing in a poet's corpse, a new addition. We called this gentrification.
You should see it when we're doing this stuff, because like he'll write a line and I'll just yell at him from the other side of the table, "When the fuck are you doing?" Sorry. Oh yeah, like this. The foxes peered into. The foxes peered into the future with fox eyes full of wonder. Vines and lichen covered discos and barracks. There were sheep as far as fox eyes could see. Let's privatize garbage collection, said the first fox who could speak. The sheep declared him king. 2 wolves crested gray on the horizon. Are wolves the same things as foxes? They were about to find out.
You asked for an eye patch. You asked for an eye patch, and I happened to have one handy. The kid said, you have a hole where that eye should be. No, I have an eye where a hole should be. Simple math, Huckleberry. Pass the gun. me a poem, do you?
Just hand me one.
You want a poem? There you go.
Contrary to reason, poetry remained obscure in certain Belgian backwaters. It was even unheard of by diseased school children who had heard of everything else. Rayner closed the textbook and invented the Belgian poem. Before long, it was a hit. Rayner moved on to the pancake, where he met equal success. It seemed Rayner would have an easy life.
There was one soft light. There was one soft light. It came from the library. You crouched in the bushes, cradling the sad-eyed poet, his pants at his knees. I hate poetry, you whispered, then placed your hand over his whimpering maw and kept it there, though he licked your palm. It'll be over soon, you crooned. The librarian's face was pressed to the window. She'd have to be next, you grimaced to yourself. You kept a shovel in your trunk and had a library card.
I can hear my wife up front groaning. The bombs fell like bombs. The bombs fell like bombs falling. You leave the supermarket and the street is dust, a mirage, a blank card and a deck. It is the opposite of quiet. All is noise, but you can't make anything out. You see an angel snickering in the shell of a phone booth, windows miraculously intact. You fucking angel, you never show your face until now? The shipping carts start rolling. It's the concussion of another blast. You are sick of blasts and sick of angels, so you close your eyes, travel to your 7th birthday party.
And just for the educational part, the bombs fell like bombs falling. It's a simile. So, in case you wanted to just, teach you all a little literary device there. You probably didn't know. He'd never been to Colombia. He'd never been to Colombia with anyone but Lana Turner. Frank opened a Coke and waited for it to turn warm. This will take that rust off, you'll see. But Lana Turner had other concerns. In another room of the hotel, a man placed his dentures on his pillow, put the gun in his mouth. He liked going to the movies. He'd been waiting for this ending a long time. It's dark.
Well, you're half to blame. Toward the end of his long day, they added 2 more hours. They borrowed them from the day before, disappearing the events of 3 to 5, which had been important hours to Frank. He looked back in his journal, but those pages were empty now too, plus he'd be late for dinner. Had time hiccuped for 2 hours for everyone? Frank glanced directly at Wanda and Og, looked to them for direction. They seemed 2 hours younger. Although he looked every minute of his age, he wondered if 2 hours later he'd be any wiser, or if they'd just add 2 more hours. It was the longest day ever recorded by capitalism, or fish, or wristwatch wearing fish.
Sometimes they fizzle out like that. By the way, Michael actually put together a chapbook of these. There's a chapbook of all the poems we're reading there tonight. If you want to take these home and study them for the nuances that you might have been missing as we just read them quickly to you. You think you are. You think you are taking your last breath. You try to recall the time Cynthia Lovejoy came to your room uninvited, holding a photo of Richard Nixon over her face. She wasn't wearing a single thing. Her sweepy tattoo winked. I opened a can of spinach and turned down the lights. I watched you squirm beneath my knee, asked what you did with Cynthia. She was the only girl who made me like Nixon. The others all wore McGovern masks. I couldn't pick the man out of a crowd. You are, in fact, taking your last breath. No president can save you.
They stood in the glow. They stood in the glow of the one streetlight in the village, and they counted one another's toes. They were leaning against the only phone booth, which contained a phone book with only one number. No one had even bothered to call. this was called community. Somewhere else, this happened. A man saw his last meal slid under the door. He'd hoped they'd remembered the salt. They were inconsistent with seasonings, except where saltpeter was concerned. His last meal was electric. Everyone in town ate dessert.
You don't have to tolerate 3 more of these. All their winter precautions. All their winter precautions didn't stop the leak from turning the bathroom ceiling into pop art. Jackson Pollock shadowed the shower, humming Loverman in splattered notes. The Art Deco black and white tiles complained, but no one ever listened to them. It had been a long, cold winter, and the house was tired. It crouched behind its shit-covered lawn and hated cats. It didn't care if its insides rotted. It was tired, wanted warm weather, wanted a hammock to sink into like all its friends, but Art was churning in its guts all the way to Mexico.
There wasn't enough beer. There wasn't enough beer in the world, nor enough books by Rod McEwen. Poor old Rob had written his last ode to the glories of the morning light, a Heineken in his non-pen hand, a Hotel 7 pen in his pen hand, and time ticking on his immortality. We gather to sing of Rod McEwen. Elton will give eulogy in song, Jet Boy, Jet Girl, or maybe The Long and Rhyming Road. When Rod McEwen ruled the world. Later, a flyby by Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Rod McEwen declared it legal.
So this is the last one before I read. I just want to thank you all again for being here, and thank the Tree Gang for inviting Michael and I to read together. It was a very special occasion for us.
And thank the Black Squirrel Gang.
I was going to do that. I was going to do that. And thank the Black Squirrel Gang, because they're amazing people over there, and this is an amazing store. So let's yeah, you were, yeah. And I thank Michael. And this poem, I noticed, I was just glancing at it, also has another literary device called pun in it. You'll see if you can catch it. It's called One Time in Mexico. One time in Mexico, I saw ants carrying a tree up the side of an abandoned museum. Of course it was in millions of small pieces, the museum I mean, but ants know how to navigate ruins big and small. They have the kind of smarts where they build abstract sculpture for fun. This one time, Frida Kahlo chased fire ants down Trotsky's trousers, and he plucked them out with an ice pick. Then went to work on those brows. He called this browsing. Communism was dead, but communism was dead. I'm sure that was your line. Communism was dead, but in denial. The ants, black and red, looked to the future. All those newly built museums, TV sitcoms, machines that washed dishes, and cars that rolled on square wheels. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Stuart. You've proved that collaboratively you can be twice as everything. So thank you all for coming. It's been a great evening. Come back in 2 weeks on March 14th. We'll have another interesting combination with Sarah Burgoyne from the West Coast, now based in Montreal, and Ottawa poet Stephen Brockwell. So come on out in 2 weeks. Thank you.